Let's discuss about the challenges you all face in day-to-day's real estate landscape, because you all present major stakeholders of industry. You guys are presenting different verticals of this real estate landscape. So I want to understand, what is the day-to-day challenge when it comes to real estate in your own particular vertical, where you feel the technology can actually provide the real solutions? So let's begin first with Mr. Chintan. From a developer's perspective, I want to know, where do you feel the challenge majorly lies in real estate, where the startups could innovate and bring solutions?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much to RealtyNXT and Kritika for this opportunity to be part of the jury as well as this panel. Very excited to see a lot of tech startups here. I myself, I'm a computer science graduate who got into real estate by mistake, and very happy to always interact with tech. So why I say this is that when I first came to Mumbai after my studies and my stint of work abroad, I was very excited, and I thought, I'm going to implement all the stuff that I've learned back in the US, in India, and I started applying, agile processes to land acquisition, which did not go very well. If anyone knows agile processes, you wake up every morning, that 10-minute. So that didn't happen. And obviously, slowly, I came to realize that there is a lot of space here, a lot of space for technology to be adopted to help the industry go forward. But the adoption challenges are many. And because of the nature of the business, the adoption challenges are also specific to markets. Like, for example, in technology, if you go to Bangalore, if you go to Hyderabad, where the average workforce, the average clientele are all much more tech savvy, the technology adoption challenges are different. But when you come to Mumbai, or you want to go to Delhi, Ahmedabad, Indore, Jaipur, Calcutta, I have friends in these cities who are developers, and they have a different set of challenges. So, so if you have to deep dive into what kind of challenges, primarily I would say the adoption in real estate. Say if you say in 2007, 8, 9, if you told somebody, that I'm going to show you a property on an iPad, to nahi tha tabhi, but property on a TV screen, and then you're going to see everything with the apartment, the sizing, the unit, the podium, the amenities, and what views you're going to get, and you can book that property by just swiping your card or putting your number in, people have laughed at you. But today that is a possibility. 15 years down the line, we've got so much adoption, not just in real estate, but as a country, in all our markets, in almost all aspects of the economy today, there is a lot of adoption of technology. So we have similar things in real estate. We focus primarily on sales, because still I feel that technology is not seen by most developers as a revenue center yet. It's still seen as a cost center, which I think is a huge psychological impediment. The moment that changes and people start thinking that, a real estate company can also be a tech company because it helps me grow my revenues, I think that is a huge shift that I feel is happening amongst the Cat A developers for sure. But I think the B and C are also catching up to that fact.
So coming to you, Mr. Amit, you just NIFCO completed 10 years, and you've been in financing of real estate projects, also conducting due diligence in real estate. So where do you see the startups could step up in terms of innovation when it comes to Fintech of real estate?
So thank you very much, and my heartiest compliments to RealtyNXT for this extraordinary presentation. I think it's a wonderful platform for engaging real estate with technology, and one of the first of many kinds. So good luck on that. I think you brought out a very pertinent point, that where does fintech interface with real estate? And I think there is obviously now a increasing realization that there needs to be propagation of finance within real estate. While it is a consumer asset class, and what Chintan mentioned as how do you make consumer experiences or user experiences more vivid and more interactive using technology, clearly there's also an opportunity both for domestic and global capital, which is increasingly looking at real estate as an investment destination. It is still very archaic in the way it is presented, it is brought forth, or it is made available. I think SM REITs and REITs are one way where we've seen some amount of unitization of real estate, which allows people to participate at a commercial real estate level through the REIT platform. Maybe SM REITs will continue to offer other asset classes very soon, whether it's housing or second homes or whatever that comes out through SM REITs. So that's one of the starting points. And if you can sort of create those units in the way a mutual fund is available for understanding the product in terms of research, in terms of comparables, in terms of data, and that makes it available therefore on an app. I think that's really interesting for REITs and SM REITs to start in that way. And then, of course, if there are other ways to look at tokenization, fractionalization, or even, unitization of investments into the sector, I don't know. So you could potentially look at crowdfunding as one of the options, and within the SEBI sandbox framework. So there are multiple ways, because we get so many inquiries with people saying, I'm keen to invest, I like the space, but I'm not necessarily an AIF investor. I can't come at 1 crore of rupees today, but I'd like to participate in some way. So that really is a wanted need which needs to be addressed. Also, how does global capital access it? Does it come in directly only through the FDI route? Will it only come to a few big fund houses? Or is there a way for a larger diaspora of Indians as well as foreign participants to come in at a smaller investment level? So I think there is clearly that interest. Of course, capital is there. It needs to be made available through a wider distribution capability, a wider audience, and I think that will really, really, bump up this whole demand-supply gap that has emerged in the financing space. We're looking at a very significant delta between what is the requirement of capital and what is available through the standard institutional framework. So, of course, that's one very interesting problem that one can try and figure and solve. That's purely from the fintech side. And, of course, then there are consumer-led interfaces in terms of how do you purchase a home, which is the best way to optimize the purchase in terms of your EMIs versus your down payment, to looking at various comparables and stuff like that. So that's another very interesting part. And of course, when you look at, finally, you asked about due diligence. That's again a very important part. The kind of amount of effort, time and money that goes into diligencing every project, valuing it, understanding the issues is very large. If that can be compressed, made more efficient, if it can be made available in a shorter period of time with lower transaction costs, it'll just increase the turnaround time for people to understand the attractiveness of an investment opportunity. So I think we're fairly, as Chintan rightly said, we're fairly in a, we're still at a stone age when it comes to adopting technology for real estate. So enough good things that one can do going forward.
I've been told that there are students coming from Nirma University and there are few MBA students. These challenges, guys, please do listen to, because this is gold mine. And this is going to be, I think, a way to enter the entrepreneurship in the real estate. So coming to Arvind, you've been CTO of Puravankara. I'm sure you must have noticed a major weak spot in this real estate landscape. Where do you feel the technology can play a pivotal role, especially coming from the PropTech solutions?
I think it has a big role because, I've seen the retail world. I've come from a different industry altogether. So I've taken a leap of faith seeing the gaps in, real estate. So, my friends touched on various areas. I was reinforced on those areas like, the transparency, the convenience, engagement for a customer is most critical thing. A real estate is not just a purchase; it's a emotional attachment for a customer. So a customer purchases a real estate property maybe once in a decade. So it has a lot of value, emotions attached to it. So what kind of transparency we bring in whole customer experience? Transparency we bring in how the project is launched, how it is progressing, is the demand making sense, when he will get the property. All those, are basic things which are required. We talk a lot about data, everybody talks about data is the new oil. But, your oil may not fire because your foundation is not right. So, how you get the foundation right, that is another challenge which I personally see in real estate. You might have 50 years old data, but does that make a data make sense? Third thing is, how you can stop leakage of data. That is the biggest problem in real estate. We work with brokers, many a times a customer comes to the site, you will not come to know that customer has come, but your broker will come first. And many times those leakage are happening. So these are big challenges which I think any startup should look in and maybe try to address. Maybe I will touch on last thing is more around technology innovations. So my friend said adoption. See, we are adopting technology, but adoption doesn't happen with just technology. The transformation has to happen in the minds. People who are driving this, they have to transform to adopt technology which you bring in. So I see a lot of challenge in adopting the technology which is implemented. So how that can be brought in. So awareness, training, all those aspects were not so sound in real estate earlier. Now it is picking up. Now you will see a different aspect from which people are hired in real estate. So I'm coming from a other industry. So now there is a thought at the leadership levels that you require different aspects to look into the problems. So that is another good change which has happened. Yeah. So I think the adoption to technology is very fast. We are investing hugely, from technology investment, but adoption and seeing the ROI is still something which is a challenge.
And that's quite an interesting point, which I will circle back to. So coming to Gopal, you've been consulting numerous real estate brands and developers. I'm sure you must have noticed one weak spot in all the addressal to these developers. What is that one weak spot common among all these developers and brands where technology can be addressed?
First of all, thanks Kritika for inviting me here on this forum and with great legends here. It's not one issue. There are many issues, as Chintan also mentioned very clearly, right? Post-COVID, what we have seen is this sector has fundamentally taken off significantly. People who have the real estate organizations who have land banks started launching projects significantly and are trying to push sales also significantly and as quickly as possible. But fundamentally, we have seen with most of the organization, there are three things. One is people, process, and technology, right? All the organizations are looking at either getting their sales and marketing in place and trying to push sales. Some organizations are trying to catch up with larger players in the market, and we are talking to a lot of firms who are in the significant growth phase. So all these areas, I think one needs to get all these three aspects very clearly in place, and startups here obviously are looking into different areas as well. So I think if everyone looks at it holistically, because there's a lot of data generated in every organization, especially in the real estate organization, right? Bring that to a platform and see how better the data is being utilized and how can we catch hold of those customers, right? Ultimately, customer will buy one house, maybe his relative might buy another house, or his children might grow up and get another house. So it's important to look at that holistically. And there's a lot of private equity coming in as we speak. Everyone is looking to raise funds in the market, large developers, smaller developers. So all these become very important as we speak, and technology plays a significant role. What we see is people not adopting technology as we speak would definitely stay behind, right? And that's what we are trying to tell various organizations, and all the startups here could address those issues.
Lastly, coming to Vivek, the company Squareyards have been quite profitable. I can also say it's a unicorn company. So I want to understand from your perspective in the customer buying journey, especially in the B2C space, where do you feel that technology and untapped opportunity is there where technology from Squareyards can aim to tap into?
So Kritika, if you look at the entire customer journey, you can break it into probably 3 or 4 different subsections. So first is your search and discovery, where people are thinking of buying real estate and then they're going to the online platform. So we believe that that entire experience is broken, right? What you have on listing websites is mostly brokers who are putting up their ads and they are just, so what you see is not what you get, right? Unlike a e-commerce where you can order and you are sure to get that product. So I think that's the biggest gap in search and discovery space. I would say that one of the opportunities that Squareyards or any other startups here could probably take a look at is how do you make SKUs or inventorize the real estate inventory, right? So you have like a house is also a SKU, right? So probably you can actually denote it by a unique number, and then what you see on the real estate platforms, if you are sure that this is the real house on sale or on rent, and I can actually go and book it or do a site visit. I think that's the biggest opportunity in search and discovery. Then moving to the transaction part, site visit, I think it's majorly an online to offline scenario, right? I think we believe that it is going to remain same because it's a high value touch and feel product. But there are opportunities here that how you can actually reduce physical site visits, how you can build AR, VR experiences on top of it, how you can manage not only, so the use case of a digital twin not only lies in the sales and marketing space, but also the building management, facility management, O&M piece. So there are a lot of opportunities in that area. And then the third is post-sales experience. I think for most of the developers, and we work with almost all the developers here, I'm sorry to say, but the experience is broken, right? I'm buying, as he said, we are buying we are putting the largest asset that we could buy, right? We are putting our life savings, but when you actually go and buy, the experience, the customer experience on the site and post the site is not standardized. So it takes 7 to 10 days for a developer to confirm that you have made this payment, right? Payment reconciliation is a huge issue, not only for us, for customers as well. For getting a mortgage, right? When you're buying a house, right? It takes 60 to 90 days to get a mortgage, right? If you go to a car showroom, right? When you're buying your mortgage or your car loan gets sanctioned there and there, you walk out with a car, right? So these are some of the opportunities, and obviously there are a lot other startups who are demoing their products here. So I would say some of these startups would solve these challenges, and we're looking forward to it.
Great. So, Chintan, I want to know from you how's the 2024 has been so far. In September, we are standing. In terms of challenges in this industry, in 2024, there have been a lot of news in terms of policies, regulations. Where do you feel the policies, regulations can be more better for the opportunity to bring in more in real estate by 2025? And this year, let's also talk about the positives. This year, what has been the positives in terms of real estate?
So we are talking more in terms of from the technology point of view, or just
overall real estate
okay.
yeah.
So I think post-COVID, housing has become like it's back in fad. You know, all the guys around the world, I mean, it was like a whole huge thing where all the post-millennials and the Gen Zs and whatnot were thinking of not ever owning a property, and it's like an anchor and weighs you down, and why you need to do all sorts of arguments about economically, socially, it's not making sense. So COVID has dispelled that completely, that fog is out of the room. and everybody wants to buy properties. And with the kind of incomes that are rising and the kind of growth that you see in today's economy, especially people are making a lot of money through the markets, and that money is flowing into real estate, and I think it will continue to do so. So 21, 22, 23 onwards, you've seen across India a huge upswing in property buying, because property is something once you don't have and you have to stay on rent and you're at the mercy of a landlord in a time like COVID, you realize the real value of owning a home. And it has nothing to do with any economics or any finances or anything to do with investments or growing capital or wealth. It has something which is more primal, right? It is land and its ownership. So when it is that primal, it's a basic instinct of human beings. So once you go through that, and that happened to me post-COVID, and I realized, you know what, I'm in the right business, because this is never going out of fashion. And owning property is going to be a thing. As long as you're in the right market, you've got the right product. Right product will obviously be backed by the right market research and understanding of your customer. So once you have that in place, I think you'll do well no matter what. You might not make as much money, you might make less money if you're talking commercially, but otherwise you'll do well. So yes, in 24 has been a good year for us. 24 in terms of certain challenges and policies, but overall I think the center and state both are aligned for Maharashtra at least. So there has not been much in terms of turbulence in terms of policy. There are a few things that the real estate community has been asking for a long time, is the industry status and certain other advantages when it comes to interest rates and stuff, to make this industry more aligned with the other industries. You know, especially when he said getting car loans easily and the mortgage take a lot longer. That there's a lot of background to that. So we really want that, and once we get that, I think we'll be in a much better place. But I think overall the industry has consolidated, and it is continue doing so with RERA and the kind of tech adoption the government has been doing. Not just I would not just. We always complain about the government, but I would like to put a very positive word out there. The kind of technology adoption that at the center or the state, across the board, that has been happening is outstanding. I mean, I don't think there is an equivalent in the world where the pace at which we are moving towards technology adoptions. So the real estate market, the developers, the other stakeholders, all are going to be forced to move in that direction. So I'm very, very positive. Very few negatives to talk about. All positive this time. 25 is, I have obviously the wish list is there, but I think that's for another day.
Okay. Amit, in terms of finance landscape, we heard a lot of new policies coming in for fractional investment, for AIF, even with regards to the digital payments, right? So I want to understand 2024 in terms of finance of real estate landscape, how that has been. In positives, if you could tell us, what are the positives that has happened in 2024 for the real estate finance landscape, and where are the challenges still lying? If it's regulations, where do you feel it could do better so that 2025 can be more better for the Fintech, for AIF, for fractional investment?
So annually we need close to about at least $25 billion to construct the annual output that we're doing, and maybe in homes this year we'll do about 5 lakh crore rupees worth of sales, and the amount of money available is roughly half or less of that, right? So we have roughly maybe 10 to $12 billion available. So there's a very large gap, and that obviously percolates with the way RBI looks at real estate as a sector, and increasingly it's extended that to NBFCs as well in terms of what a lender is able or unable to do. And I think that really creates a significant limitation for capital, given the provisioning norms, given the fact it's not industry status, the cost of capital involved, etc. So I think that obviously is a very big change that if can happen. While there are preferential rates for mortgages, that does not necessarily give the same benefit for the developer, which I think is a dichotomy, because at the end of the day, the cost of capital will get transferred to the consumer, And if you can make it as efficient as a mortgage market, then you're bringing more capital efficiency through the banking space for consumption-led asset classes like real estate. And let's focus on that segment, if not for the high-end segment. So I think that's one, one very large gap. Second is, of course, in terms of the change, I think India has now become fairly centric in the global order for capital to find a new investment destination, like I mentioned. So we're seeing significant FDI inflows. We're potentially looking at over $10 billion of FDI this year. And also there has been a huge domestic mop-up of capital. So AIFs have been growing at over 45% year on year. The number of AIFs that have started and have started to focus on real estate have been quite a few, including those who also do general equity or general credit, have also looked at allocating capital for real estate. So if you look at it, the whole demographics today for India have started moving towards financialization of assets, and more so post-COVID, where we're happy to invest into digital assets or financial assets rather from just owning a home or owning some gold or putting money in fixed deposits. So there's a significant amount of capital which is coming out and going into either the stock markets or going into REITs or potentially SM REITs or into many, many other exotic products. And I think that's very encouraging also, because the wealth creation has been so high. The amount of money that's going into AIFs, despite being a 1 crore ticket size, has been phenomenally large. It is estimated that AIFs will reach the size of mutual fund industry of about 50 lakh crore rupees in the next few years alone. So it's the fastest growing space when it comes to domestic and potentially some global capital mop-up. Of course, the GIFT City route has been very attractive for foreign investors to come in and invest into the country. So I think that's been a huge change. So that 24, 25, the number of conduits today available through GIFT City, through AIF, through listed routes, through SM REITs, through REITs have been very encouraging. And I think that has really created a huge amount of liquidity surge relative to what we saw, in maybe a couple of years ago. It's become a positive asset class post all the transformation. There was a lot of suspicion about investing into real estate a few years ago, and people have had challenges for the capital that they've invested. But for the first time, you're seeing actually real estate companies going public. We haven't seen that in decades. We haven't really seen that in decades, barring a few examples of a few outlier companies, which means there is a lot more acceptance of real estate as an asset class of a company that's really doing well in real estate developments. And I think the public is giving a very solid thumbs up to the opportunity set that is there, which means it's not a short-term liquidity or short-term capital opportunity. It is fairly long-term. It's maybe a decadal, everybody talks that maybe there's a decadal cycle that we're in, and it is likely to therefore continue for a few more years, I think so, which is really where the intervention of institutional capital, institutional development, technology, which ties up all of these participants together, will be more and more relevant, because there will be institutionalization of this space. It is consolidating very fast, it is institutionalizing very fast, and therefore it is able to attract the best capital, the best talent, then the best opportunities to itself.
So we are looking to a very good 2025 for AIF. Yeah. So my question is for Vivek and Arvind. This year there has been a lot of talk about digital transformation. So I want to understand, is it just a buzzword, or really, as you both had pointed out, the adoption of technology is still a challenge? So how 2024 has really been when it comes to digital transformation for real estate overall landscape?
Okay, so I'll tell you from our perspective, and probably Arvind can tell from a developer perspective. So what has changed in last 1.5 years is the advent of AI, LLMs, large-scale language models, right, ChatGPT, so on and so forth. And they've become quite affordable with the recent announcements from OpenAI, Meta and all. So we have transformed our operations quite a lot. For example, we have 7,000 people on our payroll who do probably 200,000, 300,000 calls a day, right? So how do you analyze those calls? So with the advent of AI, we are able to analyze and we are able to take actions, right? So real estate is an industry where your ultimate conversion rates are abysmally low, right? So I'll tell you our conversion rates are in the range of 0.5 to 0.6%. So out of 500 leads that we get, we are able to convert 1 or 2, right? So what do you do with those 499 leads, right? So with the advent of AI, we are able to analyze their behavior on our website. What did they talk to the customer? How did the call go? What was their sentiment? What were these customers looking at, right? And then re-engage them at a later point of time and reactivate those leads, right? Or probably send nudges to them at certain points of their journey. So that is transforming our operations hugely. We are able to increase our conversion rates. We are seeing better engagement rates from the customer, right? How do you churn leads? How do you reassign? How do you make sure that the customers are still active with you? So all these things have been hugely transformational for us. And second is obviously the content generation, like making attractive listings with descriptions which are good for customers, SEO-friendly descriptions, converting images to videos, right? 2D to 3D. So all this content generation game has also became easy after the AI came into space. So these are the two areas that we are hugely leveraging AI, and we see that the results are happening for us.
Arvind?
I think I will extend the AI part. My friend has very well covered it. Other aspect is like, the training needs of employees, like, why the conversion is not happening. Are we able to address the questions properly? Are we able to give the information properly? That is the analysis which, AI is helping us to understand how the talks went. Did it went in the right direction? What kind of training needs the agent requires? Where there also AI is helping a lot. What I'm looking forward to, startup sitting here, maybe, can we think beyond what prop equity does? Land acquisition is the biggest problem. So can you discover where all the land is? And how it can be acquired? Can the government?
Samir is sitting
help?
there. He's smiling.
The government help in making the land acquisition easier. That's a policy change. Next thing which I'm looking for is maybe AI. We talk a lot about blockchain is something which should play a role. Maybe in contracting agreements, there is a lot of policy change needed to bring those in reality. So now a person sitting in US, if he wants to invest, he doesn't has to come down to India to sign those physical papers. So how we can go away from physical papers to a paperless industry? That's the biggest thing which the government as well as the startups have to look in. Maybe the last clue I would give is how you can break the monopoly of the elephant sitting around, which work in technology, from technology perspective, work in real estate. Like, can we bring a lesser engagement lock-in period of 3 years, 5 years to maybe 6 months? Maybe try fast, fail fast, adopt, change fast. That is something which I'm looking from the startups. Joho started as a startup, and now it is competing with the big elephants around. So that's the scope for you guys sitting here.
True. I agree completely. Gopal, you have been, as I said earlier, also consulting so many real estate developers. This year, particularly in 2024, my question is, how it's been when it comes to digital transformation when you're consulting these developers? Are they open to it? Are you facing any challenge? Or it's been completely a good ride for 2024 where you are noticing these developers have a different set of mind when it comes to not just technology, when it comes to even understanding of how new ways or innovative ways they can sell also, as he said about the customer buying, and make it more seamless?
Yeah, so you're right, Kritika, in terms of, as Chintan clearly called out, that all the real estate organizations are willing to adopt technology. This is taking certain amount of time. That is primarily, I think, one issue is there is no delegation which is it is still a promoter driven in a lot of organizations. So adoption in terms of technology is taking time for organizations as well. And in a large organizations and MNC organizations, you have a professional layer. Delegations are very clear, decision makings are very clear. I think because of that, things are slightly tougher as we speak. But we are talking to a lot of developers where they are interested in technology, as Arvind mentioned, how to adopt AI. There are a lot of new businesses which all the developers are venturing into. So how do you bring technology into the act is the discussions what we are having across the industry.
Great. So the timer is off, but I will quickly ask a last question to wrap this up. Starting with Chintan, I want to know from all of you your viewpoint when it comes to certain myths about real estate. Are those real? You can state those myths and tell our startups or tell our audiences about those myths being not real, not existing. Starting with developers are not open to technology at all. They want negotiation, they want free technology.
Absolutely. No, developers are, like I said earlier, they are very much open. I mean, I think more than them being open, any industry or any promoter, any owner will be doing things where he's seeing an incentive to help his business to grow. So today the incentive is there. You would have asked someone 20 years ago, they would have said, you know what, I've got too many things on my plate. The technology will not even feature in the top 20, speed dial. So today I don't think that is the case, because today digital marketing, customer experience at site, post-sales, CRM, all of that stuff, a lot of it has been digitized in a big way. We've got these walking machines with you, which you carry as if your life depends on it. So you've got the mobile phones, which really make sure that everything that you want to put across to the customer is there for you to do so. So definitely developers are open. A developer's standard financial model or a business plan does not have a technology line. The spend on technology is not there, which is where answering the second part of the question is that, yes, that is where the psychology comes in. Whether when you start thinking of that as a revenue sort of accelerator instead of a cost center, I think that is the main aspect, which I think is changing. It's going to obviously go from the big guys, like Sir said here, that the institutionalization of real estate is happening, and along with it, technology adoption is an inevitability.
I hope the startups are noting this down, because during Mixer you need to get hold of him. Coming to Amit, I want to quickly ask you the biggest myth that you want to break when it comes to AIF and private equity in real estate.
So real estate investment was considered one of the riskiest asset classes in India. That's now a myth. It is not. It is much safer. It's more predictable and has got, I think, comparable risk-adjusted returns to now most other asset classes in the country. So therefore, it's now, effectively mainstream opportunity.
Vivek, a bit controversial, but I want to ask, and I'm sure some of the startups have this also in mind. When it comes to real estate, there are a lot of startups who are claiming they are unicorns, but they are not profitable. They are making loss. Is it a myth that it is true, or there's something different story behind it?
I won't like to comment on other startups, but we are profitable. And but having said that, see, so if you see a startup, like there are two types of startups. Always I say, there is a growth startup, right? And there is a profitable, or like you have to balance between growth and profitability. So there are some startups, like if you look at startups like Zomato or maybe
you can
Flipkart.
Name some from real estate also if you want. Just saying.
So in real estate, I think very few startups have been able to scale up, right? I think one of the biggest challenges, because monetization for real estate startup is really, really tough, right? Especially those in software solutions. So I would advise, like, look beyond India, right? The solutions that you're making should
have a global audience, especially those in SaaS or software related areas. The real monetization of your startup would happen overseas, right? India is a good market to mature your product, but when you spend, let's say, 3-4 years in India, go global, guys, go to US, go to GCC, go to Singapore. I think there the monetization would happen and your startups would scale up.
As well, Dubai. Squareyards being in Dubai, na? Yeah.
Yeah, Squareyards. So Squareyard brokerage is there in Dubai, but I would want to take an example of PropVR. So, of course, we are working in India, but I think the real monetization of PropVR is happening overseas.
True.
Especially in the GCC market. So that's where it has scaled up really well.
So, Arvind, the biggest myth is it that the digital transformation is not happening, as Vivek pointed out, that startups need to also look out? Is it true that our Indian real estate market isn't matured when it comes to adoption of technology?
I think the myth was what the technology will do in real estate. That was the biggest myth earlier. When I was coming from Reliance Retail, people were asking me, "Wahan jaake kya karega?" That was the statement with a lot of my friends, So that was a myth. There's a lot of scope. There's a lot of investment happening in technology. I think the other myth is real estate is cost conscious. That's a myth. I would say it's a value conscious. So as a startup, if you are giving value, you will get paid for it.
So Gopal, the biggest myth, is it true that the bigger players in the real estate market, the branded players, will be the few players left only monopolizing the real estate market?
That's a myth. I think COVID completely changed that. There has been a lot of developers offering very specific product when it comes to real estate as well. So the big folks would be there. There would be smaller folks also would be there in the industry. What they have to do. As I clearly called out, every organization is looking at it holistically and see which businesses they can venture into. So that would become very important. I think big ones, small ones would exist. It's a question of whether two small ones would exist or will they scale up to become big ones. That's what is the important thing.
Thank you so much, guys, for this panel discussion. I'm sure our audience, and especially startups, would know about the challenges they can work on, entrepreneurs who are there, young entrepreneurs who would know where to begin when it comes to real estate. Thank you so much.
Kritika, it's disrupting your space as well, right? The entire media and news reporting has become very, very digital.
True.
Yeah? So I think this platform is an example as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you.